So Taco Phil here. I know there are a couple people getting ready, and it's awesome that they're getting ready to start their journey with my company that I work for. And I think this January 7th, I think they're starting a new class. So I figured I'd do a quick video. I haven't done any update videos or anything in a minute about being in the class. So if there are a few tips that I like to give, and definitely stuff that I learned, and you'll probably learn real fast when you're doing the training course to getting your CDL and working for the company I work for. There are a few things that you gotta kind of take in stride. You gotta understand. It'll help you get through the whole process a lot better and be successful in the program. So there's a few tips I can give you. First tip I can give you is rest. It's the most important tip I can give anybody. Make sure you get home, you get sleep, you don't go out and party, because with my company, when you do the training, you have long days. Like, I'm talking like you get here at like 8 in the morning and you don't go home until like 9 p.m. The reasons the days are so long is because depending on the size of your class, depending on where you're located, they want you to get the hours in. So before you can drive with my company, with Greyhound, you need to be able to have at least 120 hours of driving a bus under your belt before they'll let you drive with passengers. And you'll pick up those hours real quick. So I've had days, so pretty much on average, I've had days where I've driven a minimum of like 8 hours. I mean, I've had a couple of days where if there were a lot of people and they needed to split you guys up, they'll do 4.5 hours a day. This is why, depending on where you're located, I'm in LA, the training is about 5 to 6 weeks. You know, it's not just a few days, it's a couple weeks. You spend about 4 weeks of that in the basic training course, and then you'll spend another 2 to 3 weeks doing your route break-in, your cubbing, which is basically when they have you driving the different areas to learn the stops. So you're gonna have long days. Yeah, I've had days where it was basically, we got there at 8, we spent some time in the classroom learning the basics and the rules and regulations, and then we drove for the rest of the day, and I drove for hours, sometimes 8 hours straight. And typically they'll have you drive for a bit, take a break. What a lot of the training you'll do is, a lot of it will be inner city driving. You know, getting on the highway and driving straight, that's not a big deal. Very few problems come from that. Where a lot of people have issues, get into accidents, is when they're doing tight turns, they're getting into tight locations, in and out of cities, navigating through traffic, making tight turns. It happens. Like just here at our terminal here in Los Angeles, everybody has to make this one right turn to get into the slips, or before the slips, and it's really tight. Like, it's so tight that, you know, I have to wait for traffic to go in order to turn, or I have to get in there and force traffic away from me in order to get in there. So it's really easy to hit something. So you're going to do a lot of tight turns, a lot of turns. But you got to rest. You're going to have some long days. You know, they give you a free coffee, free soda, whatever you can get. Take it, go get you some rest. But the most important thing, get you plenty of rest. Alright? Second thing, learn the logs. So we have two types of logs. We have the electronic logs and we have the paper logs. Now, the great thing about these logs are, the logs are not Greyhound specific. The logs are federal logs. So if you worked for transportation before and you had to keep logs, it's the same thing. You know? I wouldn't say we have too many people who fail, but we have a lot of people who have problems for a good long while with the logs. They can't figure it out, the different rules, how to exactly draw it up, how to calculate your hours. So if you can go on YouTube, maybe I'll do another video going over how to do the basic logs. But learn the logs, study the logs. A lot of people neglect the logs, and what they'll do is they'll give you a test every now and then, and they'll give you scenarios that you have to do, and then turn them in the next day. Some people, they bullshit, and for greyhound, at the end of the training, one of the things you have to do is you have to pass the log test. And basically they give you a scenario and they give you 2 chances to take it. And if you fail the 2 chances, you're done. They don't give you a 3rd chance to take it. They kick you out and they deem you, not capable of doing the logs. It's not super difficult, and they work with you. They definitely give you the opportunity to ask questions and take your time. They don't want you to rush it, because that's where most people get in trouble. They rush the logs, and that's where they mess up. So take your time, study the logs, go home, write out the logs. As soon as you get it, try to do it as soon as possible. Work with your other students. There's always going to be one guy or a couple that are really good at the logs, and you're not. So make sure you study the logs. The other thing is, so my next tip is don't overeat. Yeah, don't overeat. This is a job where you spend a lot of time sitting on your butt. And I know a lot of people who get sick or have to go to the bathroom a lot while they're driving, and that's annoying. You're going to spend a lot of long days where the only bathroom you have is the bus. And you start using the bathroom on the bus all the time, you're going to be regretting life. It's going to stink. It's going to be terrible. You're going to have to stop every 10, 20 minutes to go pee, to go, use the restroom, whatever. Don't eat big meals. Keep it nice and light, Trust me, you'll get nauseous. You'll get your stomach upset. One of the big problems that we get here is you're on the road a lot. There aren't a lot of opportunities to get a good meal. So you don't get a good meal, you don't eat well. I've had a lot of times in which I've been driving and I'm just like, man, I'm real tired. I've been working myself, and then I look at it and I'm like, I haven't really been working that hard. It feels like a long day, but really I've only worked like 6 hours. I've done way longer. I work security, I'd have 12-hour days. And then when I turn around, I look at it, I'm like, holy crap, I haven't eaten anything today, or I had a big fatty lunch, and now I'm just super tired. So, eat well. Don't eat big lunch meals. Don't eat no meals. Don't skip meals. I've been trying to get in, at least a smoothie, a shake, or something. I like to do the naked drinks, because it gives you a lot of your vitamins and minerals, and it keeps you somewhat full. So don't eat big meals. Don't skip meals. Definitely try to keep yourself healthy. You're going to be putting in a lot of hours, and you'll be tired. You'll feel it real quick. You'll feel real quick how, a lot of people, they think it's just an easy job, and relatively it is easy, but with the hours, with the stuff you got to deal with, it'll wane on you real quick. It's a lot of emotional drain, a lot of, lack of sleep, a lot of responsibility you got to deal with. You got to deal with people, you got to deal with the vehicle, you got to deal with long, boring stretches on the road. You'll get tired real quick. So just, one of the biggest ways to take care of that is stay healthy. I'm not the skinniest guy on the planet, but I'm not the fattest. So I try to maintain some semblance of health. But yeah, all right. So other than that, yeah. So yeah, definitely long days. Study your logs. Eat healthy. And my next one would have to be, don't get frustrated. One of the biggest things that got me frustrated is not the driving, it's not the test, it's not the long hours. It was dealing with people who constantly point out your flaws. It's terrible. I hate it. Because that was one thing when I was driving, I was doing the cubbing, doing the long runs, where I was just like, man, I can't wait for this to be open. It's because it's hard to be in a situation where you constantly have somebody who's pointing out your problems. They want to make you better, and it definitely helps. It helps you. It helps you in the long run. It helps you stay out of trouble, and it helps you train. But you'll get frustrated. You'll get frustrated. When there's only so many times I'll pull into the same stop that I want to hear the same person say, hey, make a right over here. Make sure you're in the right lane. Keep an eye on this side. You watching this car? You'll get frustrated. You'll get frustrated real quick. But just take it in stride. Just know it'll be over soon. Soon you're going to have, this illustrious career driving buses. It's going to just be you and those passengers. And, as much as we like to say, oh, you're just a bus driver, those passengers are sometimes just helpless people. They really are. They don't know where they're going. They don't know where they are. They need help. I've had so many times where I've had passengers get on and they're going to I'm like, yeah, we're going to San Francisco. And they're like, okay, what time we're going to be in San Francisco? And I'm like, yeah, we should be there in like 8 hours, 7, 8 hours. And they're like, what? Like, they had no idea that it was going to be a long bus ride. I've had people get on the bus and they're like, they want to hop off the bus. They need to go to the restroom. And I'm like, there's a restroom in the back. Oh, I didn't know there was a restroom in the back. And I was like, I say that in my announcements. They don't pay attention. So sometimes you're going to have a lot of people asking you questions. You're going to have a lot of people distracting you. You're going to have a lot going on around you. When I think of how many times I've come into places and through no fault of my own, I've just had random people just coming through trying to cut me off. They don't want to be sitting behind a bus. So the first thing they'll do, they'll try to gun it around you and then bolt right in front of you. And you're just like, dude, this bus does not stop on a dime. That's an easy way to get into an accident. So, it may seem frustrating right now to have someone constantly pointing out your flaws. It may seem frustrating to have someone constantly telling you, turn here, do this, don't do this, keep an eye over here, keep an eye over there. But trust me, it'll be over soon. It's not that long. You'll be doing something, and in practice, you'll start doing it, and you'll realize, yeah, he's right. Maybe I should have taken that turn a little wider. Maybe I should have watched my angle a little bit more. So just be aware of that. It definitely happens. It definitely happens. So just be aware that you're going to be a little frustrated. You're going to get a little pissed, but just be cool. We've had drivers snap at the instructors, and that's an easy way to get kicked out. You get kicked out once, they're not going to have you come back because you think you have an attitude problem. Trust me, it may seem like it sucks now dealing with these few instructors who are going to be harping on all your mistakes, but when you get out there on the road, people are going to be pushing your buttons all the time. They're going to be pushing your buttons, So, yeah, those are my main deals. Oh, one last one before I even forget. It's probably one of the most important things next to getting rest and studying. Go slow. One of the biggest problems is people getting confident on the bus. They may have never driven a bus, or they may have driven buses before, and they get around these corners and they want to whip it around the corner. They're comfortable with it. They've been driving it for a bit, and then what happens? They take a turn too quick. They get too comfortable. They're not paying attention because they think, oh, I got this. Let me get around the corner real quick, and they get into an accident. So with greyhound, if you hit any fixed objects during training, you're gone. They don't give you a second chance to come back. You only get one instance. Once you start working, depending on the severity of your accident, sure, they'll write you up, they'll have you do a refresher, because, if it's not a major accident, little accidents happen all the time. But when you're in training, you have to take it slow. A lot of drivers, they do the overhand turn, or they'll do one hand turn, or they'll do this whole deal. When you're in training, they want you to do the push and pull technique. And the push and pull technique is basically where, let's say you turn to the right, you're going to push with your left hand, and then you're going to pull it with your right hand. And trust me, it seems silly. You're like, I've been driving for a bit. I don't need to do all that. I want to whip around this corner. But no, if you take it nice and slow, as long as you're not impeding traffic, you can't go slow enough. Go nice, take it nice and slow. Take your time. You see that it's going to be a little tight. Stop what you're doing. Take a minute. Evaluate, look around, make sure you're constantly checking your mirrors. Go nice and slow. Often, even if you don't even see what's happening, if you're going nice and slow, it could turn a major situation to a small situation. It could be you're going nice and slow, you don't see, you miss something, and it pops up on you. It's much easier to stop that bus when you're going nice and slow than when you're trying to whip around a corner and you're trying to slam on the brake and you got no control. So yeah, take your time, go nice and slow, and have fun. Have fun. I have a blast. If they ask you want to try something, try it. You want to do an announcement, do the announcement. You want to do pre-trip by yourself, do the pre-trip by yourself. You want to try and start it yourself with no help, try to do it yourself. Try to have fun. You're gonna do a lot of turns. You're gonna do a lot of going into tight situations. You'll be okay. You take it nice and slow. You watch your angles. You watch your mirrors. You're constantly scanning. You'll be fine. Yeah. You know, it's just like when you first learn how to drive. It can be a little nerve-wracking, but you take your time, you get in there, and you'll be okay. You know, it doesn't have to be a terrible thing. You know, it doesn't have to be this big, long, arduous day. And trust me, those days that you're putting in that are long days, you get there at 8 a.m., you don't get home till 9 p.m., that's about as long as they get. You know, I don't think I've had a day that was more than 12 hours, and that was loading passengers, pre-tripping the bus, driving to the destinations, doing multiple stops. I don't think I've had a day that was more than 12 hours. I had one day that was more than 12 hours, and that's because we had some technical issues. You know, we had the bus broke down, and we had to wait for another bus. But once in the blue moon. You know, they try to maintain these buses pretty well. So, you know, good luck to you guys. You know, if you're still thinking about doing it, this is a good time to do it. You know, they need a lot of drivers. A lot of places are really hurting for drivers right now. There are a lot of incentives to doing it. You know, you can make good money. You can make good money on the road if you're willing to work. You know, I've had weeks where they were, you know, I kind of felt a little lazy. I felt a little tired, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and get as much easy work as I can. I just want to do some local runs. I just want to do some quick runs and be home. And I start feeling it in the pocket. I'd say on the least, I've had a couple of days that were off, but I say the least that I've made so far was probably like about 500 a week. I personally have never made less than that. It's definitely possible if you don't want to work or you want to take a few days off. But the most that I've made was about, with second rest and working pretty much every day, doing some long runs. The most I've made, and this is all in a week, not in 2 weeks, this is 1 week. In 1 week, the most I've made was 1,600. That was doing some long runs with several days of second rest under my belt. It was 1,600. Without the second rest, just running some long local runs, the most I've made, I think, was about 1,200, 11 to 1,200 per week. So the money's there. The money's there. The fun's there. You know, you're gonna have some long days, but you know, just remember you're driving a big bus. You're a land pilot, a land captain, and you're dealing with that, and you'll enjoy it. You know, the other drivers are really cool. You know, everybody tries to curb their attitudes, and they're all dealing with the same thing, but you'll enjoy it. You'll have fun. You know. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'll try to do another video. Maybe I'll do a video on the skills course, and I'll do a video on the logs to help some people out. Keep asking questions. You know, keep leaving comments. I love the comments, even the negative comments. I love it. You know, because it gives me perspective as to what people want to see, what people don't want to see, what people care about, people don't care about. So again, it's the Taco Phil. You know, talk to you guys later.